Welcome to the audio production room. This is the type of room you'd use to do commercial recordings or voice work for podcasts. This is a Mackie 14-channel board. You'll see that it has 6 XLR inputs on it and 4 different stereo channels that are inputs. We'll start by going down the row, looking at input 1. XLR input, TRS input. The low cut cuts the bass frequency 75 Hz and below by 18 decibels. The trim controls the levels coming into the board. For this microphone, we typically will set that at 60 plus 60 dB. If you have a line level coming in, that trim would be down near 0 or negative 10 dB. Auxiliary outputs you don't have to worry about. What an auxiliary output would be is if you wanted to send something to a second recorder, for example, on a separate output and be able to control the levels differently, or if you have monitor speakers on a stage where you want the performer to be able to hear it, but it's a different mix than what you want the audience to hear. Equalization, highs, mids, and lows. When you work on a production board like this in a commercial studio, you would leave those flat and record flat, and then EQ in post. Pan left to right, same thing. You would record that left and right, have 2 channels, and if you want to mix the balance up later, you can do that. The mute button turns the mic on and off, basically. It'll mute it when it's down. It'll unmute it when it's up. The solo button allows you to hear just that source, not any other sources. So whatever sources are soloed, you hear those, and it's typically pre-fader. So even with this down, you would hear that channel coming in. You also have up here some that are stereo left and right inputs. If you do that, then this one fader controls, you'll see channels 7 and 8, or 9 and 10, 11 and 12, or 13 and 14. Otherwise, the controls are for the same in there. And you have a pad instead of a trim there. So the pad will automatically cut it by negative 10 or boost it by plus 4 dB. We have a variety of outputs up here. These are the main outs going to the computer. And you have a headphone output. Do not unplug the headphones from the board. The speakers on the computer will allow you to hear what you want when you're editing. The reason you have headphones when you edit or when you record is so that you don't get feedback, of course. So as you record into the microphone, the only way to hear yourself is through the headphones. The auxiliary outputs you don't need to worry about. You do want the source of these levels, this meter, to be the main mix, so that whatever is in this main mix left and right, you'll see the levels up here. All these other buttons should be up. You don't need to assign the Alt-3 for the tape to the main mix, and you don't necessarily need to solo mode anything. So this is your headphone volume. This will control the volume in your headphones without affecting the levels that you're recording. And this is your volume for the main outs. So if this is up, you can have a variety of other inputs up, and you can mute them all at the same time by dropping these mains or raising these mains. Now let's get started with the basics of recording with this board. Don't forget to always wear your headphones and monitor your levels on the board itself. So when you go about setting your levels to start with, you want to start by putting the mains at unity. The mains will almost always be at unity unless you get this one up past unity with the trim all the way up and still need some headroom. So we're going to start at unity, bring this up to unity, get our trim adjusted. So as we do mic checks into the microphone, mic check 1, 2, 3, mic check 1, 2, 3. You'll see my levels are a little bit low, so I'm actually going to start by bringing the mains up. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we want them peaking right around here, around 0. If we're going up above 0, we're not building ourselves enough headroom. So if you peak at 0, you have, or around 0, you can go above it a little bit. Notice that when you hit the red, it'll clip. So these levels are a little bit hot, so I'm going to back off on the mains just a little bit. On this board specifically in room 1, there's a little bit of a short in the left channel, so the mains have to be high enough, otherwise you won't get a left channel. We're going to leave that there. We're going to leave this one at Unity. This is the last one you want to adjust. So with this at Unity, we can adjust our trim up and down to adjust the fine adjustments right here. In fact, it's always best to leave this at Unity and this at Unity first and adjust your trim. So now with the trim all the way up, I'm bouncing around 0 for my peaks, and I've got Unity here. Why you want this to be the last one that you adjust is because you want to be able to boost your input or lower your input depending on if somebody talks loud or soft. If you max this one out all the way and you don't have any more room to go up, while you're recording, you're going to have to be adjusting the trim or adjusting the mains. Now, if you adjust the mains and you have more than one input going on, well, then you're kind of out of luck because you adjust the mains and it'll adjust all the inputs all at once. So set these at Unity, set this at Unity, adjust the trim. On this board, for my voice, that's good enough.
In Audacity, you'll also want to check the input setting and make sure it's set to built-in line input and that you're recording to a stereo track. Likewise, you'll want to check your system settings by clicking on the sound icon and then checking to make sure that you are set to the line in input and that your input settings are about 75% or 3/4 of the way over for input volume. Finally, don't forget your USB thumb drive. These iMacs aren't connected to the internet, so you'll want to plug your thumb drive into the USB extension cable and transfer your files over to the USB drive so that you can take them up to Martin 125 to edit.